It's the greatest gift from Allah to be in the last prophet. Summa salatullah wa salamullah ala al-hadi ya Rasulillah. It's the greatest gift from Allah to be in the last prophet. Summa salatullah wa
قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا. That successful indeed is the one who purifies this nafs.
You have fear for Allah, but you also fear other people? No. وَلَا يَخْشَوْنَ أَحَدًا. Don't fear anybody else illallah, except Allah.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's telling us good words are better. Good words, words of advice, is better than the one who gives charity but followed by reproach.
So there are different levels of tests, and Allah decides who He's going to test. The first level of testing, of course, is with our own nafs.
esteemed by his companions that Allah had mentioned their noble description in the Holy Quran.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونعوذ به من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كله ولو كره الكافرون أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأيوب إذ نادى ربه أني مسني الضر وأنت أرحم الراحمين فاستجبنا له فكشفنا ما به من ضر وآتيناه أهله ومثلهم معهم رحمة من عندنا وذكرى للعابدين وبعد. My dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we thank the Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal for all the favors He has bestowed upon us, and we ask Him to save us from the many ways of shaitan and to forgive us for all the sins that we may have committed, knowingly or unknowingly, hiddenly or openly. We ask Him to keep our hearts on Islam and to save us from the punishment of the grave and that of the hellfire, and to enter us into Jannatul Firdaus. So, the Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, He is going to put us through test and trial in this world, and we know that. He says in the Quran, أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ألف لام ميم أحسب الناس أن يتركوا أن يقولوا آمنا وهم لا يفتنون ولقد فتنا الذين من قبلهم فليعلمن الله الذين صدقوا وليعلمن الكاذبين. He says, does mankind think that he will be left alone saying, we believe, and they will not be tested? Meaning that as long as we say we believe, and we are Muslims, and we have accepted Islam, and we have surrendered to the Almighty Allah Azza wa Jal, Allah Azza wa Jal is going to test us. Indeed, we have tested, وَلَقَدْ فَتَنَّا الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِهِمْ. Indeed, we have tested those people before Him. And indeed, Allah knows those people who are truthful in their iman, saying that they believe. He knows those people who are truthful, and He knows those people who are lying. Because in the test of Allah Azza wa Jal, and we will remind ourselves when He says in the Quran, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها, that Allah will not place a burden on a soul except that which it can handle and bear. So while we say we believe, and Allah Azza wa Jal tests us on that belief, and then when we are tested, some people may turn away. When they turn away, or when they have accepted that as a test from Allah Azza wa Jal, and they stand firm in their iman, they stand firm in their faith, and they put their trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, then He knows those who are truthful, and He knows those who are lying. Because when it becomes very, very tough, then we will know whether or not we say we believe and we are truthful to our belief. And we are truthful in our belief. Now, I just want to share with you a little piece of the story of Ayuub. The English people call him Job. Ayuub. When Ayuub, a prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal, Ayuub, a prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal, whom Allah Azza wa Jal tested to the limit. He tested him. And we may know the story or we may not know the story. But Allah Azza wa Jal says in the Quran, وَأَيُّوبَ إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسَّنِيَ الضُّرُّ وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ. Okay. Allah Azza wa Jal gave Ayuub all sorts of wealth. He had a lot of wealth. And he had his family with him and his good health. Then Allah Azza wa Jal came and took away everything from him. He lost his wealth. He lost his family. Only his wife remained. And he lost his good health. According to the people who commented on the verses, he was stricken with what is called leprosy. So his whole body was affected with it, every single part of his body except his tongue and his heart. The leprosy entered everywhere except his tongue and his heart. So he was using his heart to make dhikr, and so to his tongue. He was remembering Allah Azza wa Jal and he was making dhikr with his tongue. And nobody didn't want to stay near him, so they put him out of the city to a place where, it was the worst place out. The place where they would put all their rubbish and all that. They sent him there. They banished him there. They exiled him there because of what he had. And the only person who would come to him to give him some food was his wife, Ayuub. And in this condition, listen to what Ayuub says. He says, Ahmuduka Rabbal Arbab. I praise you. Remember, he's in this situation and he's saying to Allah Azza wa Jal, I praise you, Lord of the Lords, Alladhi ahsanta ilayya, who has been very good to me. A'taytani al-mala wal-walad. You had given me wealth and children and family. فَلَمْ يَبْقَ فِيكَ مِنْ قَلْبِ شُعْبَةٌ إِلَّا قَدْ دَخَلَهُ ذَلِكَ. There was no recess in my heart. There is no place in my heart. There is no part of my heart except the wealth and my children entered into it. The love of them, the emotion of them, and his wealth entered into his heart. So his heart was filled with his children and his wealth. Of course, being a prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal, he would remember Allah as well. فَأَخَذْتَ ذَلِكَ كُلَّهَا مِنِّي فَفَرَقْتَ قَلْبِي وَفَرَقْتَ قَلْبِي. You have taken every single thing away from me. You have taken all of that from me. And you have emptied my heart. Ayuub, a prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal. So if his heart was filled with his children and his wealth, and Allah Azza wa Jal has taken it away and has emptied his heart is free now. This is how he's looking at it. His heart is free. Free to do what? To remember Allah Azza wa Jal and to worship Him. فَلَيْسَ يَحُولُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَكَ شَيْءٍ. So now there is nothing between me and you, O Allah. There's nothing to come between me and you because you have taken my family, you have taken my wealth. There's nothing in my heart that I would desire that can come between you and me. So totally now he is for Allah Azza wa Jal. And this last part is the crux of it. وَلَوْ يَعْلَمُ عَدُوِّ إِبْلِيسِ بِالَّذِي صَنَعْتَ لَحَسَدَنِي. He said, Iblis, my enemy, if he were to know what you did with me, he will become jealous of me. La ilaha illallah. Iblis will become jealous of a man covered with leprosy, has lost his family, has lost his wealth. The people don't want to be near him. Why? Because the work of Iblis is to take us away from remembering Allah and from worshipping Allah. That's his work, that's his job. So whether we are healthy or sick, if we remember Allah Azza wa Jal, Iblis is our enemy. So we may think that a person who is very sick and weak, Iblis has nothing to do with him. But that person might have a stronger iman than every one of us, like Ayuub. So he was making this statement and he was making dhikr and all that. So Allah Azza wa Jal, the Quran tells us, إِذْ نَادَى رَبَّهُ أَنِّي مَسِّنِيَ الضُّرُّ, that affliction has befallen me. And he says, وَأَنْتَ أَرْحَمُ الرَّاحِمِينَ, and you're the most merciful of the ones who show mercy. And this is dua. You're complaining to Allah Azza wa Jal, and He's the one we complain to. He is sick, so in this way he's asking Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive him, mercy, to have mercy upon him. To have mercy upon him. A prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal, sick, and he's asking Allah Azza wa Jal to have mercy upon him. And because he mentioned that he was sick, he's asking Allah Azza wa Jal as well to cure him. And this is what we must do when we are imploring Allah and begging Him for something. We use one of His names that is suitable to call Him by. So if things are hard, we can call Him Ar-Razzaq and Al-Kareem and so on and so forth. So Allah Azza wa Jalla says in Quran, فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ. So we answered him, وَكَشَفْنَا مَا بِهِ مِن ضُرٍّ, and we removed all the affliction that was on him. So he was cured. Allah Azza wa Jal cured him. وَأَتَيْنَاهُ أَهْلَهُ وَمِثْلَهُمْ مَعَهُمْ, and we gave him back his family, the same family he lost, were returned to him, and the same amount as well added onto that. Rahmatan min indina, as a mercy from amongst us, wa dhikra, and a remembrance, lil abidin, for the people, for the worshippers. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, Ayub, he remained firm in his iman, in his faith. And he did not feel so sorry for himself that he waded in his self-pity, but he remained firm. And he begged Allah Azza wa Jal to forgive him and have mercy upon him. And he made the dhikr, the remembrance and the statement that, oh Allah, you have taken everything from me. There's nothing between me and you now. I don't have anything. There's nothing that can come between my love for you and my worship to you and my remembrance for you, because I don't have anything else in my heart except you. So he reached a very high level of association or closeness to Allah Azza wa Jal. And it is a lesson for us that we as Muslims, we look towards the Anbiya, the prophets and the people of good faith, and we take them as our exemplars. They are the ones we must pattern ourselves with. And we need to look at Ayub and the patience he has. And even the non-Muslims, they acknowledge him and they will tell you in the expression to be as patient as Job. He was very, very patient. And then very briefly, the story of Dhunnun, whom we call Yunus. And the Christians, they call him Jonah. He was living in a village that was disobeying Allah Azza wa Jal. And he told them that if they do not obey Allah and worship Him, the punishment is going to come. So they still didn't take him on. But when they realized that yes, the punishment was coming, before the punishment came, they begged Allah Azza wa Jal. They left the city with their animals and their families and whatnot, and they make dua to Allah, so Allah Azza wa Jal forgive them. So he left that place because he was angry, and he went on a boat with some people, and they went deep into the ocean. But the waves were very high and they had to make the boat lighter. So they thought they will draw straws. And the one who drew the straw, it might be the biggest straw, the shortest straw, that person, they will throw him into the ocean to make the boat light. So it fell on Yunus. They didn't want to do that. He's a prophet of Allah Azza wa Jal. They did it a couple times, and every time they did it, it fell onto Yunus. So while that was happening, he took his clothes off, of course not totally naked, but the outer clothing, and he dove into the water. At that time, Allah Azza wa Jal, you can read about this in the Quran, in Surah Al-Anbiya. Allah Azza wa Jal sent a fish, a whale that swallowed him up. But Allah Azza wa Jal told the whale that Yunus is not your food. Your inside, your stomach is simply a prison for Yunus. So do not eat his flesh or crush his bones. So the fish took him to the bottom of the ocean, and he was making dhikr. And he thought that Allah Azza wa Jal is not going to save him. And he's not going to get sustenance. And then he kept on making the dhikr. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka. Inni kuntu min al-zalimin. La ilaha illa anta subhanaka. Inni kuntu min al-zalimin. There is no one worthy of worship except you, O Allah. Glory be to you. I am of the wrongdoers. So eventually, Allah Azza wa Jal answered his dua, and he came out of the fish. He was blown out of the fish, and he came onto the shore, etc. So the hadith of Rasulullah Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam tells us that if there's anybody, the meaning of the hadith, if there's anybody in any trouble, and they make this dua, La ilaha illa anta subhanaka inni kuntu min al-zalimin, Allah Azza wa Jal is going to remove them from that negative situation that they are in, that adverse situation. Of course, it has to be done with proper iman, and it has to be done with good intention. So my dear brothers and sisters in Islam, we go through a lot of trials and tests. We have to be patient. I thought I would share with you these two stories briefly, so that we will realize and know for ourselves that whatever we face on this earth, we can handle it. And regardless of how bad our situation is, we must not turn away from Allah Azza wa Jal, but turn towards Him most. And when He makes things easy for us, we hang on to Him still. Because He tells us in the Quran that وَإِذَا رَقِبُوا فِي الْفُلْكِ دَعُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ. When these people go and they're traveling in the ship, in the ocean, they make dua to Allah, sincerely to Him, because they are in trouble. Out in the ocean, yeah, it's very, very frightening. فَلَمَّا نَجَّاهُمْ مِنَ الْبَرِّ إِذَا هُمْ يُشْرِكُونَ. But when we save them and put them on land, behold, they continue with their shirk. And He tells us in the Quran, وَلَنَبْلُوَنَّكُمْ بِالشَّرِّ وَالْخَيْرِ فِتْنَةً. We are going to test you with adverse situations and good situations. So whatever it is we are, whether it is easy, we are in easy times or in hard times, the main thing is that we must hold our iman together, be patient, put our trust in Allah, and of course, work towards it. May Allah bless us all. Ameen. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين من كل ذنب فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.
It's the greatest gift from Allah to be in the last prophet. Summa salatullah wa salamullah ala al-hadi ya Rasulillah. It's the greatest gift from Allah to be in the last prophet. Summa salatullah wa salamullah ala al-hadi ya Rasulillah. What can be said of Mustafa? He was the wish of Musa, or the news of Isa, the prayer